This is Hacking the Afterlife podcast with Jennifer Schaefer. Hi, Jennifer.
Richard. Is that the music that plays the whole time, Richard? You are so funny.
See, instead of actually playing that, somebody complained that was too loud when I did the.
That's so
So I
funny.
figured I'll just play it. What the heck, right?
Why not?
You know, and in case there's anything musical
Why
comes
not?
up or you want to sing a song. How are you, my dearest?
So, um, as I told you a little earlier, my mother had a little fall and cracked her
Oh,
hip last night.
I'm so sorry.
And so it put me in a funk. Here, my mom, which, I haven't mentioned this, she had breast cancer, right? And I did mention this actually. She last week, breast cancer free. Like she's breast cancer free,
Wow.
but she has neuropathy in her feet and she lost her footing and cracked her hip. So she is
I'm
in the
sorry.
process. They here this morning, so that's why everything was just a little bit later. But I have to tell you something, and I know this is why we should be doing this. So I was on my Peloton. I know, come on, but I was on my Peloton, trying to just work it out because I was inside my head, which is a dangerous place for me. And I started telling my dad, like, Dad, please tell me that you're seeing mom right now because, and this is for the audience, when people go under for surgeries, they go to the ethers. There's been near-death experiences written in so many different books about how they rise above and they see what's going on. And some people remember it. A lot of people do not. But so I told my dad, I'm like, you better be with her. And I'm going to get choked up. He showed me the sweetest thing I've ever seen. He showed me dancing with my mom, wearing his cowboy hat and his jeans. My parents used to teach Western dancing.
Wow.
And it was to the song that every time I think of my dad, I think of this song. And he just showed me pictures how he's like, I got her, she's good.
Wow. What's the song? Do you remember?
I think it's Old Blue Eyes or something like that. I can sing it in my head, but I don't know what it is. But it truly was the sweetest thing. And he showed me how they were young. And this is when they were, young, even though they had 7 children running around, right? And I must have been like 18 or something when I saw this. Or not 18. I was like 16 when they did this. And so, that was last year, right?
A couple of weeks ago.
Nothing that I was thinking of, that he put pictures in my mind and feeling. But the thing Beautiful. Was that I just lost my noodle. I started bawling hysterically, and my poor son was on a Zoom. Luckily, it was on mute. He comes running over, but it was like those happy tears, but yet then it made me miss my dad so much. So I know that happened, especially right before our class, excuse me, Luana's class.
Our flip side class.
Because when people go through, when you have a family member that's sick, or you have somebody that you love that passed away, or you have, whatever it is that you're dealing with, it's not you, but it's around you. I do my best to not get, because I have clients all day long that I can just easily get in and get out. But when it's your family, you just can't, as you know.
Yeah. And now you can't just close the door or shut the window.
You can't shut the window. And I spent all morning trying to shut that window. It just didn't work. But when my dad showed that to me, it did provide peace and allowed me to get on with my day. But also,
I think it's a worthy topic for our podcast, which is Jim. Tell us a little bit about why you introduced her to that topic. Is it that everybody can do that, or was it unique?
You can't say that. He just called me a big baby. He's like, I didn't do it to make her cry. Because I did it to say I got her and she's loved.
That's great.
Everyone can do it. They just might not. They think that they're thinking it. I know the difference. I know that I wasn't thinking about my dad when I was 16 years old, him holding my mom dancing.
Right, and dancing. Yeah.
That was his thought. That was his picture and feelings and emotion that he gave me.
Right. And that is, Jim, that is something I want to ask you about because people do ask me all the time. How do I differentiate between me making it up and you presenting it to somebody?
He just
Is
showed me,
there? Go
he
ahead.
said, before your thought, before my thought, he showed me how he gave me that picture before I finished my sentence.
So it's almost like a time, we've talked about this, it's like a time thing. When they answer your question or give you a thought before you can think about it or ask the question, you and I do this all the time where you say something and I haven't gotten to the question yet.
Well,
So
he also showed me, he said, he goes, he gave me the question to ask. Like you get like, as because whenever you're doing something, like I consider my Peloton, when I'm in my zone, I can go, right? It's my meditation.
yeah,
Whether you're cooking or doing driving or whatever, try not to close your
yeah,
eyes.
swimming probably better.
Whatever it is, whatever it is that you're able to free your mind, um, and he does that when I'm, again, it's those endorphins as well. So that is a combination he's showing me, but that's when he says he can hijack me.
Kidnap you, bring your daughter along.
Right.
I think it's a profound thing to talk about, and it's something important for people to remember, which is when your loved one, whoever they are, crosses over to the other side, you know, they have a certain amount of time. They might want to do other stuff and get acclimated, but at some point they do want to communicate with you because their love hasn't changed. It hasn't faded. So in order to what?
I'm just trying not to cry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, okay. And so, Luana, you're the a person who can help us without tears.
She's like, keep going though. Okay.
Keep going. All right. Well,
Wait, wait, wait,
that's
wait, wait.
let's talk about that.
Prince just showed up. So hold on. I'm never gonna say. And then he showed me Cody. The person that came to my office that has the connection to Prince.
Hmm.
I want to say Colby. Colby.
Oh, yeah, Kobe. Kobe,
Kobe.
yeah. Our friend that
Okay, so you
just
showed me
has a very
Kobe.
profound connection to Prince whenever he
Okay,
sees
so
footage.
Prince came through, and then this. Hold on a second. He says, "Tell Kobe I got him."
Now, what do you mean by that,
I'm
sir? What does
so
that mean? Is
another
that
that
good?
whatever he has asked for, whether it's music or whatever, he's got him. He's there for him. And
And so that is true because people consider you to be a celebrity and they don't know Kobe, but at the same time we do. But the question is that anybody can ask for your help. Is that correct?
absolutely, he was
And
just verifying. He was just verifying what you're going to verify later because I haven't talked to him. I haven't talked to Kobe forever. You
and
know,
so what would be
one.
and I'm hoping we got his name right. That would be embarrassing. But so what would be a methodology, please, sir, if you don't mind? Just give us a maybe a one, two, three. Somebody who's a huge fan of your work or anybody's work, and they want to access you. What would be a way to set the table for them to ask you a question?
He says visualize. He says visualize either a picture or visualize that, in your mind, put him into your mind,
Uh-huh.
and then ask me to be there. Ask me to be there. And then the way you feel connected to that is just believe it. Believe it.
Well, and so part of it is that allowing that they're outside of time as we know it.
Right.
So that person could be involved with a lot of people, helping at the same time simultaneously. But just believing it is very hard for people to do or accepting it. So what would be another way? And so that idea of asking someone like Prince or whoever else it is, and it could be a loved one, a relative, but asking them not to intervene because they can't change your path, but to
Right.
assist or to help or to give solace in some way. And
Right.
so a musician like Prince, it could literally be you're trying to write a song and it's like, could you step in here and help me?
Yeah. He's helped. It's so funny. One of my students, not one of my students, one of my clients went to, graduated from Berklee School of Music, and she wrote a song about what my psychic said. Wrote a song, and it was the funniest thing, but it was great. But she said that too, like they have a connection. When you listen to this podcast, you get connected more, not because, excuse me. Hold on a second. I cannot believe
Well,
this.
not because Jennifer's over there talking to the flip
Right.
side. It's
Correct.
because you're bypassing the filters. We have these filters that are there in place. When we sleep, the filters are down. What Jennifer and I are doing, no one listening to us is under hypnosis, but we're talking about things
No.
that you access while you're dreaming or sometimes under
Right. So
or meditating.
we're putting their awareness to we're putting their awareness to what's already connected.
Right.
And so what helps you is, but we desensitize the, not the, I always want to keep the magic, but we desensitize.
Well, the process. We make it easier to access.
Yes, we make it tangible. For them.
Tangible. All right, that's good, as opposed to tangerinable. Luana, I got a weird email from an old friend of yours yesterday, weirdly enough. Just a woman that when I was the first time Luana and I went to an event, she was there. And she just reached out to me because I had run into her at Sally's memorial service. Anything you want to say to Ginny, Virginia?
Is there something about her either really thinking about the other side, like almost wanting to be there, or she's just saying for her to be patient, it feels like.
Be
so her name is
patient. Ginny. Yeah, Virginia.
Virginia, hold on. I keep getting like, tell her it's not her time. But just because she thinks of the other side doesn't mean she's supposed to be over there.
Okay, very good. I swear she has no clue about what we're doing. I just happened to run into her at Sally's memorial, and I said something along the lines of, I met you 40 some years ago when Luana introduced me to you the first time we went to somebody's house for, garden
She says that this work will help her.
Okay. So that's good. I sent her some links, to give her some idea of what that is. Lou, anybody you want to put in our chair? Anybody? You've had some pretty amazing guests the past couple of weeks, our past couple of sessions. We don't have to have amazing guests. Somebody complained. They said, don't you know anybody average? Some guy named Joe or Jane on the flip side? Is that all you got, or famous people?
No, it has nothing to do with famous people. It's just connections to other people. It's not. It's so funny that they say that.
Yeah, well, people are offended when everything's not about them. That's just how you get it.
You guys, please. It's only because it. Okay.
Well, Lou, off to you, my dear.
What Lou said, what she just did, which made me also get choked up, is they all like put their hands trying to de-stress me, saying that everything's going to be okay.
Everything's going to be okay. Well, it's hard. It's easy to hear. It's hard to believe.
So let's see what they have to say, maybe to our audience, and how this relates, or what the audience can do.
Yeah, there you go, Lou. It's off to you.
Singing, music, all of that's an elevation.
Interesting.
And like running, anything that gets your dopamine going.
Physical movement.
Love. Send love.
What?
If it's something that you want, send it, like give it away. We've heard that so many times. Like send it. Trust that there's thousands of light workers working for us, not against us.
Well, I appreciate that. And let's just go back to dancing first. What? Sorry?
Trust the process.
Trust the process. All right, very good. And I just want to go back to that dancing thought for a second. I was with some folks over the weekend, and somebody who was really suffering from the loss of a loved one. And somebody put on some music, and then it became this thing like, hey, let's dance. And at some point, everybody in the room was dancing, and I was aware, because it's been so long since people were in a crowd dancing together, but I was aware that the grief had just evaporated from the room because you get outside yourself. And so that was just an observation. Lou, why are you shaking your
My
head?
dad just showed me what, my mom was getting remarried again. I was crying again. And I'm not a sensitive person, ask all my friends. But as I was crying on my way to her wedding to surprise her, which was the best thing that's ever happened, one of the best things. My dad put on the song. It came on, of course, randomly, but not I Get Around by the Beach Boys. He's married to my mom. She's been married twice. She's been with only two men her whole life, but he said that. And for some reason, I laughed so hard on my way there. It dissipated. You're right. The grief and the sorrow that I had. It made
Yeah.
it so much better because I knew it was, and he just thought that was, and I could see him laughing. He just thought it was the funniest thing ever.
Well, your mom has
But,
got to stop doing these Irish jigs. What can I say? The fact that she would be out dancing. How did she hurt her hip? Do you know?
I don't even know. I called the hospital this morning and they already rolled her in. So
All right,
to have
maybe she's not
surgery.
going to tell you the wild evening she was. Hey, I love your mom. I'm sure
Hey,
she's going to be okay. It
last time
happens.
the last time I cracked a rib, it was something like that. So
No, I remember when my mom hurt her hip, and it was a real enlightening experience for her because they put her in a place for rehab, but everyone around her was suffering from dementia. And so I had the unusual experience, and Luana, maybe you want to talk about this, where I was sitting at a table with a guy who wanted to express himself. He wanted to ask me a question, but no one had taken the time to wait for what he had to say. And he just wanted to say, "What's wrong with me?" But because it took so long for the what to the is to the wrong, and I had nothing better to do other than to listen. And then when he finished the sentence, I went, "Oh, you're having a hard time because the blood's not getting to part of your brain. You're having a hard time remembering stuff." And then he took a long time to say the next sentence, which was, "How can I fix it?" And no one had taken the time to hear what he wanted to learn, which was, exercise. I don't know if you can fix it, but exercise and all this other stuff. So Lou, a lot of people suffering from that. Go ahead.
But they have done studies how music brings them back to a certain moment in time in their memory.
Very good. So music is a great therapy.
Huge therapy.
And
I know this was short. I'm so sorry.
no, I know. And my mom did start playing the piano at that place. They had a piano, and so that suddenly, which kind of brought her back to life.
Because that's why she showed me. Okay.
Yeah. Very good. All right. So how many minutes do we have? One? No, not even two.
We have 1 minute. My
Lou,
client.
quick, jump in.
Hold on. Interesting. She just told me, she goes, notice, and she took me into this like feeling. She says, notice how much you love your mom, and that's why you feel the way you do. Interesting. She's saying, she just took me there. Like, the reason why you feel this way is because you have so much love for her. And so, what she said for the audience, that if something like this happens where you get emotional, sit with it and ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Why am I so emotional? Was I emotional about her being in the hospital, or was I more emotional about my dad showing me him having her, right? And she's saying it's because I love her so much that I don't want her to go, or I don't want her to leave, kind of thing, even though I have no control over that, right?
Right. And then also we have this unusual thing that you and I do, which is show and demonstrate to people on a weekly basis they haven't gone anywhere. They're physically not here, so it's annoying. It's harder to speak to them. But we have to honor them by allowing them to come forward to talk to us about what their experience is. By asking them what's going on with you. Because we're so focused on what happened to us and how they're gone from us. We don't stop to think, hey, what's going on with you? Who are you hanging out with?
Right.
What have you learned? Who surprised you over there? Anyway, so Lou, you're always a surprise. It's always a treat to talk to you. Jim, thanks for coming by, and thanks for catching Jennifer's mom. We appreciate that, and we do. We love you.
I'm like, is that cheating?
I don't know. It's all good, but we never know what we're going to talk about during our podcast, other than we do know we're going to talk to some unusual people and hear some unusual things. We love you, Jennifer. Thanks for taking the time out of today to spend some time with us on the flip side. See you next week. Ciao. Love you. Okay. Bye. This has been Hacking the Afterlife podcast with Jennifer Schaefer. For more information, jenniferschaefer.com, martinizone.com, or richmartini.com. Hacking the Afterlife documentary is available on Gaia.com via Amazon Prime.